The most watched rookie in WNBA history is standing near half court, waiting for a teammate to inbound the ball. She isn't holding it. She isn't even looking for it. And in the next second, she's flat on the floor. That's not a brawl. That's not a hard screen in the lane. That's an away-from-the-play foul in a game her team would go on to win. And within 24 hours, the league would watch the tape and quietly overrule its own referees. I'm going to walk you through exactly what happened, what both players said on the record, and what it exposed about how this league handles its stars. If you believe the full story matters more than the 10-second clip everyone shared, take a second to subscribe. This is the kind of story this channel exists to tell. Here's the setup. It's June 1st, 2024. The Indiana Fever are hosting the Chicago Sky in the inaugural Commissioner's Cup game in front of a sold-out building in Indianapolis. The two rookies on the floor are not strangers. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese had spent 2 college seasons turning women's basketball into appointment television. Their 2023 and 2024 national championship runs pulled in audiences the women's game had never seen. Now the rivalry had a professional address, and the whole country was watching. The Fever won that night 71-70. But by the time the final buzzer sounded, almost nobody was talking about the score. In the third quarter, with the ball about to be inbounded, Sky guard Chennedy Carter ran into Caitlin Clark and knocked her to the floor. Clark didn't have possession. The play wasn't live. It was the kind of contact that happens off the ball, away from the action, the kind referees often miss in real time. And the moment didn't stay contained to those 2 players. According to reporting from outlets including Newsweek, Angel Reese came off the Chicago bench and applauded as her teammate's hit landed. That single reaction, captured on camera, replayed millions of times, is part of why a third-quarter foul in a 1-point game became the most discussed seconds of the entire WNBA week. And they did. On the floor, the officials called it a common foul. They didn't stop to review it. Carter that night scored 19 points. She was, statistically, one of the best players on the court. And when reporters approached her after the game and asked about the collision, she gave them 5 words: "I ain't answering no Caitlin Clark questions." That refusal became its own story. And then the league office got involved. The next day, June 2nd, the WNBA reviewed the video and upgraded the call. What the referees had ruled a common foul on the floor was now officially a flagrant 1. The league's category for contact it considers unnecessary or excessive. The on-court ruling had been overturned from the league office on tape after the fact. Now, here's a detail that matters, and I want to be precise about it. Carter was not fined for the foul. She was not suspended for it. Under the rules, a flagrant 1 simply added 1 point to a running total, and a player needs to accumulate several before any automatic discipline kicks in. So the upgrade was a statement, not a punishment. But the league did hand out money that same day, just not to Carter. The WNBA fined Angel Reese $1,000 for failing to make herself available to the media after the game. And it fined the Chicago Sky organization $5,000 for not ensuring its players complied with league media policy. So the night's financial penalties went to a missed press conference, not to the hit itself. Sit with that for a second. The contact that drew national outrage cost nobody $1. The silence afterward did. Inside Indiana, the people running the Fever were not silent. The team's general manager, Lynn Dunn, a Hall of Famer with decades in the sport, posted a statement that did not mince words. "There's a difference between tough defense and unnecessary, targeting actions," she wrote. "It needs to stop. That word, targeting, is heavy, and it's exactly the kind of word that turns a basketball play into a referendum." To be clear, that was the position of the Fever's front office, demanding the league clean things up. It was not an official finding about anyone's intent. The Sky's side told a different story. Carter's head coach, Teresa Weatherspoon, released a statement saying her player got caught up in the heat of the moment in an effort to win the game, that the two had discussed it, and that it was not appropriate, nor is it what we do or who we are. And Carter herself, 2 days later at practice, did not back down on her competitiveness. "I'm going to compete and play 100% hard, no matter who it is or who we're playing," she said. She wasn't apologizing for playing hard. She was drawing a line under it. So you had 3 official positions, all on the record, all pointing in different directions. A front office calling it targeting, a coach calling it a heat-of-the-moment mistake, and a player calling it competition. The one voice missing was the person who actually got knocked down. She spoke a week later, and her answer surprised almost everyone. Asked directly whether Chennedy Carter owed her an apology, Caitlin Clark said one word: no. Then she explained. Basketball's competitive. I get it. Sometimes your emotions get the best of you. It happened to me multiple times throughout the course of my career. And she went further. She praised Carter, calling her one of the best players in the league that year, probably in first place for 6th Player of the Year. The player at the center of the storm refused to play the victim. She closed the door the rest of the sport kept trying to open. But the league couldn't close it that easily, because this wasn't one isolated play. Over the course of that 2024 season, Caitlin Clark was on the receiving end of 5 flagrant fouls. That was roughly 17% of every flagrant foul called in the entire league that year on one player. And 4 of those 5 came from the same opponent, the Chicago Sky. The single most scrutinized rookie in the sport was also, by the numbers, one of the most frequently fouled. That is the structural problem the WNBA suddenly had to manage, because in that exact season, the league was setting records that would have been unthinkable a few years earlier. According to reporting from NPR and Sportico, the Indiana Fever set a new single-season attendance record, and league games averaged around 1.3 million viewers, nearly triple the previous season. The regular season finale in Washington drew the largest crowd for a regular season WNBA game ever. In other words, the product the league was suddenly selling to a national audience was its stars. And one of those stars kept ending up on the floor. So the conversation shifted from one play to the whole system. How should referees call physical play? When does aggressive defense become something the league has to step in and stop? And how does a sport that built its identity on toughness protect the players whose visibility is now its business model? It's worth saying clearly, physical play is not new to women's basketball, and Clark herself never asked for special treatment. She told reporters that season, "This is a very physical game and you're going to get pressure. This is professional basketball." That's the tension at the heart of all of it. The players know the game is rough. The question the league had to answer was where roughness ends and a problem begins. And who decides, in a season when every contested call was being replayed for an audience of millions? By the following offseason, the league acted on it. A task force of coaches and general managers met repeatedly to draw a clearer line between hard legal basketball and contact that crosses it. The WNBA increased fines for flagrant and technical fouls, and it told its referees to emphasize freedom of movement, to let the game's stars move without being mugged off the ball. None of those changes carry Chennedy Carter's name. But the play that made the league overrule its own referees, on video, 24 hours after the whistle, that was one of the loudest early signals that the old way of officiating wasn't going to survive the new spotlight. And to understand why that one play hit so hard, you have to understand who Chennedy Carter was before it. She was not a journeyman. She came out of Texas A&M as a 3-time All-American and went 4th overall in the 2020 WNBA draft to the Atlanta Dream. At the time, the highest pick in her program's history. As a rookie, she was named to the All-Rookie team and became one of the youngest players ever to drop 30 points in a WNBA game. She was supposed to be a franchise cornerstone. Then the path got rocky. In 2021, Atlanta suspended her over conduct issues, and she never played for the Dream again. She was traded to the Los Angeles Sparks and waived in early 2023. She spent that entire season out of the WNBA. By any honest accounting, her career was on the edge of disappearing. The Chicago Sky gave her a second chance in 2024, and she took it. That season was the best of her career, a career-high 17.5 points a game on a team that finally fit her. The collision with Caitlin Clark sits inside that comeback, the moment a reclamation story collided with the league's biggest new star on national television in a one-point game. But the Sky didn't bring her back the next year. They declined to extend a qualifying offer in early 2025. She went unsigned in the WNBA that season and played overseas. Then in April 2026, the reigning champion Las Vegas Aces signed her to a training camp deal, a chance to write the next chapter on basketball terms. Here's what that single hit really revealed. A league can't sell its players as the main event and then leave them unprotected when the cameras are rolling. The WNBA learned that in real time, in front of its largest audience ever, that the same spotlight that makes a star also forces the institution to decide publicly what it will and won't allow done to her. One overturned call started that reckoning. The rules that followed finished the sentence. If this is the kind of story you want more of, the ones the sports headlines flatten into a single bad take, subscribe and tap the video on your screen right now. There's another one waiting for you.